Hey there, battle buddies and healthy heroes. My name is Susie. I'm not a medical professional, I'm just an enthusiastic nerd, and today I'd like to talk to you about the mental health and mental game that goes into exercise, specifically self-talk, and how you might be able to change it and notice it and grow yourself some motivation for a sustainable lifestyle of fitness. As I mentioned in the other video I made about 7 tips for healthy habits, my first 2 tips there are mindfulness and radical acceptance. And in this video, I'm going to dig a little deeper into my mindfulness journey, my mindfulness strategies, and how I changed the script of how I talk to myself. Because that remains the most important part of my mental health approach to fitness. Is the way I talk to myself. Self-talk matters. And I learned I needed an overhaul when I was going through my motherhood journey. My first child was born after 50 hours of labor with an unplanned C-section, and it really put me in a rough place. My mental health and self-talk was really unchecked, and I was constantly critical of myself. I was just perfectionism, anxiety, some depression, self-loathing, shame, calling myself a failure, not good enough, all of those things. And when you get to a place that's that dark and that overwhelming, absolutely seek professional therapy. My therapist is wonderful, and she has helped me a lot. And then when I was pregnant with my second child, I found a more specific strategy that really empowered me, and that was the practice of meditation for a lifestyle of mindfulness. And I used the Gentle Birth program while I was pregnant because they had guided meditation tracks. But what I want to tell you about mindfulness, a couple things I learned. One, mindfulness is not just meditating with a clear mind. That's a strategy you can use to achieve mindfulness, but mindfulness itself is both more simple and more involved than that. Mindfulness itself is the single act of noticing your thoughts or your feelings. It's not clearing them out, it's not meditating, it's the noticing. That's the mindful moment. But to achieve a lifestyle of mindfulness where you can actually use it in a way that helps you, what's required is consistent practice of the skill of noticing. The skill of having these mindful moments is achieved through meditation sessions where you work on a singular focus. Does that distinction make sense? So in addition to that distinction about how mindfulness sort of works, I also learned when I realized that it's not meditating with a clear mind, it's the act of noticing. That helped me realize that you can't fail. When you practice mindful meditation, you can't fail. If your brain is totally frazzled and full of thoughts and you're really distracted, you're still not failing, because all that is an opportunity to notice more. Every thought you have is an opportunity to get better at mindfulness because you notice the thought and then you redirect your focus. You're cultivating that focus with practice of noticing. So those 2 approaches to this whole idea of mindfulness helped me release a lot of pressure, a lot of perfectionism and, misguided understanding of what it means to be mindful. Once I sort of wrapped my head around that, I began practicing meditation with a lot of different strategies and changing my self-talk in a lot of specific ways. So I'm going to give you my strategies, and I'm going to give you the examples of how my self-talk changed. Mindfulness options that I used guided tracks with or without specific topics and themes. I used body scans, which is just paying attention to how you feel from the top of your head to the bottom of your toes, one body part at a time, noticing what it feels like. Also, some mindful moving could also be a meditation session. It could be going for a walk, doing some stretches, or just something as simple as lifting your arm. How does your shoulder feel? How does your elbow feel? How do your fingers feel? Are you flexing? Where's your palm going? What's your wrist doing? That focus on something specific is a meditation session. One of my favorite strategies is counting 10 deep breaths, because you think like, oh, that's going to be a quick practice today, just 10 breaths. But the kicker on this one is if you have a mindful moment where you notice your thoughts are wandering, you restart your count. So the more frazzled you are and the more you need to practice, the more practice you get, the longer the session is, because you restart your 10 count. So you breathe in and count 1. Feel the air in your nose. You breathe out, you count 2. Feel what your lungs are doing as the air leaves. Breathe in, you count 3. Maybe you're feeling it in your diaphragm. Breathe out, and suddenly you're thinking about, man, I want to work on that LARP story that I'm writing. And then, oh, whoop, nope, that was a distraction. Mindful moment. Breathe in, count 1. You start over. I love 10 deep breaths. That's a great one. And the last 2 strategies I use are visualization. And my favorite one for that is the cocoon of calm from the Gentle Birth program. It's a bright white light that starts above your head, and it gently and slowly envelops you into this quiet and peaceful place. You visualize the light covering you into a cocoon, and that visualization is powerful because it sort of gives you a place that you can think of and go to where you are focused and calm and at peace. And lastly, I use examine prayers, and that's a Catholic thing. If you're spiritual or religious, feel free to check it out. Ignatius of Loyola is the guy who started them. It's a Jesuit thing, but I love them. They're just reflections. I do them before I go to bed. I light some prayer candles, and I think about my day, what I'm thankful for, what I'm sorry for, where I saw God, and I pray a little bit about what I'm looking forward to for the next day. Just a focus and a reflection with candles to help give me something to look at is a really nice mindful moment that I use. And all of those strategies helped me realize the way I was talking to myself that I thought was good discipline, that I thought was strong work ethic, I thought was motivation for exercise, I realized it was not effective. So how I used to talk was like, all right, push, 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 you can do it, go harder, go faster, go longer, you're stronger than this, you're better than this, you can do it, dig deeper. And like, you would think that a coach yelling at you in your brain, like, yeah, that's gonna get you motivated. But for me, I learned because I noticed what happened to my energy levels and my feelings and my thoughts as I noticed these mental events. It was totally draining my energy. It was putting on a lot of pressure. It was discouraging me. I felt awful, self-loathing, critical, yuck. So this Gentle Birth program, this mindfulness and acceptance of how I'm feeling and how I'm doing, my self-talk began to change into like, wow, you're really tired right now. Yeah, you're working really hard. I noticed that. Your body is tired. And you might want to stop. And you know what? You're allowed to stop. You're good at listening to your body. You're working really hard. And if you need a break, you can take it. And counter to what you might intuitively think that leads to, for me, my treadmill times were longer. My speeds were faster. When I accepted myself and was nice to myself in such, it like seemed soft and tender, and you might almost feel like judgmental about being that gentle, but it's actually very effective. You can't hate yourself into a version of yourself that you can love. So if you don't start with love and tenderness and kindness towards yourself, notice it, challenge it, change the script. It's what worked for me. My very last tip about self-talk is that it doesn't happen overnight, my friends. If the goal, for example, if my goal of an affirmation for myself was love your body, and I tried to tell myself on day 1, postpartum day 1, I love my body. Like, I didn't believe that. No, I did not love how I felt, what I was going through, what was happening. It was bleh. So if I don't believe that, you have to start somewhere where you can believe. So maybe, you know, my body is functioning today, or like, I'm thankful that my body can do this, or, you know, I appreciate this area of my body, or any baby step, because then that can turn to I feel strong sometimes, or I function well. And eventually, whatever is believable, wherever level you're at, it can become I love my body. So notice your false narratives, challenge them. You don't need to believe them. Thoughts are not facts. Feelings are just feelings. And you can change the script. And I have found in my journey that practice of meditation to change my script has allowed for consistent motivation, consistent results, and a really enjoyable lifestyle of fitness. I hope it helps. Leave me some comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what works for you. And thanks for being Battle Buddies and Healthy Heroes with me.